Shalom, shalom. In today's video, I will be revealing the mystery of the serpent being cast upon its belly, the punishments, as well as the later keys from Sepher Yirah. And a link will be in the description for you to obtain that. It's completely free. With that being said, let us begin. So we read here that the serpent was cunning. And the word cunning here is arum, and it has the same root as the word naked, which was used in the previous verse, in which it says they were one flesh ekad, which identifies our Partsufim, Aleph being Kether, Chet the next 8 Sephiroth, and Dalet the Malkuth. And it says, and they both, Shani Hem, informs us this is in reference to the backside because Shani is scarlet. This is further implicated, Aromim, because the word here, Ar, is the same spelling as Ar, the son of Yahuda. And this son was known for wickedness. And this is in reference to the backsides of Partsufim. So it says, and the serpent was cunning. And so this identifies the serpent with the backside of the Partsufim. Then it says, Mikol. And when mem is in front of a word, it can be interpreted as from. So this can be interpreted as saying from kol, from all. Then it says, Hayat, beasts. And so therefore, of the field, Hashadeh. So what this tells us is that all of the beasts come from this Partsufim of the serpent. All of the beasts where? In the field, which we know is the backside of Malkuth. So let us demonstrate this. And so understand that all of the Partsufim have 10 Sephiroth. And so here the Partsuf of man is in a upright standing and being vertical in nature, and the serpent is in horizontal. Now this is significant because it says all of the beasts come from the serpent. Now how do we know it's in a horizontal position? We know this because the punishment for the serpent is that it was cast on its belly, and then it must eat the dust. And because the link between Malkuth and Kether has been demonstrated by 231 gates, places the head at the positioning of the dust, or Malkuth. More importantly, this explains why all of the beasts of the field come from him. This also explains why he will bruise the heel, he will crush his head. Now, let us get down to the practical understanding of the serpent's Partsuf. It is stated that all of the beasts come from the serpent, and therefore they come from this Partsufim. And we can see this in regards to four-legged animals that are in a horizontal state of existence. They're designed to be elongated, and they don't stand erect. And the reason being for this is because all of the creatures were created from this Partsufim. And the same with the birds and the insects and so on and so forth. So with this being established, I will show briefly a few examples of what this looks like, and then I'll reveal one last mystery. And as we know, Malkuth is linked to Kether of the backside, and that this is the tree of the face to the tree of the body. And this is also seen in all of the animals as well, as they will have the partsufim of their face in the head in proportion to the body, and this will be throughout. Now, to explain the many shapes and forms, we have to analyze that all of the worlds have all of the Sephiroth, and as the shattering of the vessels occur, which this is a slightly deceptive term because it sounds as if something went wrong, but this is not the case at all. It was designed to do this. It created certain diminished aspects and certain aspects that were strengthened and established. And this is in due proportion to the light. So if an animal has a diminished aspect, it might have smaller arms. Let's say if the Ches and Gavur didn't endure in that Partsufim. Or for example, in the case with many insects, you'll find that they have many diminished aspects because they come from the Partsufim of the Nukva. And we know that the Partsufim of the Nukva, everything that fell into it was diminished. We can also see it in birds as well, right? Their feet and where their arms would have been, they're diminished, but their wings are established. And this is all in due proportion to their Partsufim. Their head is also diminished. And so all of these things have many mysteries to them. But with all of this having been established, it should suffice to understand what's happening here. So with that being said, let us continue. Using the 231 gate cipher, we've already demonstrated the bruising of the heel and the bruising of the head, referring to the Kether Bina, because of the positioning. Now in this Partsufim, which was what was required for us to make man and beast, which is why the Garden of Eden's mystery takes place on day 3, just prior to the creation of all things. Because the story of the Garden of Eden is discussing a realm of archetypal design, and it is written of the man that he will be ruler over the woman, and the secret is in the Partsufim's relations. And understand, it says that the woman will conceive in pain. We'll understand it's the body that feels the pain. It's the body, which is the female Partsuf here, that feels the pain. So with all of this being established, let us continue back to the matter of the serpent. So we have established that the serpent is the sideways Partsufim, that it was the backside of the Partsuf. We've also established that its punishment was to eat the dust, and we've learned that every beast of the field came from it. And we also have learned that this is the mystery of the bruising of the heel and the crushing of the head. Now to explain the matter of man. So we understand that the Garden of Eden took place on day 3, and the thought of this matter is in the mystery of the herb. We read that this is when the herb was sprouted, and we learn the story of Garden of Eden. It says there was no herb. This informs us that this occurs on day 3. So with this out of the way, we have to understand the Garden of Eden is a story of archetypal construction, and that it has to do with Partsufim that were necessary in order to warrant construction in a way that it would occur. So that's what the story of the Garden of Eden is dealing with, is archetypal Partsufims. And these Partsufims reflect themselves in the constructive reality around us, as we see with the Partsufims of animals, which they come from the Serpent, or various other aspects, like the birds and the insects. They all come from different aspects. So the matter of man has to deal with the establishments, and so understand that right after, in the middle of day 3, so at the point of the herb, after the point of the herb, we have the creation of the Tananim, and we have the creation of all of these other creatures, beasts of the field, creeping, crawling things. And so what's happening here is that these Partsufims, these sparks, these backsides that are here, become established. And they become established by the respective quality they're expressing into the Malkuth. And In the linear aspect, this is restoring all of the upper Partsufim through Shefa. And so what happens is that once this Partsufim becomes established and strengthened, it in turn establishes and strengthens the linear Partsuf. And man and woman come from this linear Partsuf here. And this is why they're erect and standing the way they are. And this is also why they were created after the beasts and all the other creeping crawling things, because they were in the process of all of these establishments. And this has been shown. So again, there's a link to Sepher Yirah in the description. In it you will find allusions to all the mysteries I just revealed and much more. It's a comprehensive Sod level commentary on the book of Genesis regarding the 7 days of creation and the Garden of Eden. So with that being said, Shalom, Selah. I suppose for one last tidbit, to understand the Partsufim, it is written, Hashem created one as well as the other. This means they had front side and back side. And in a logical perspective, we can look at this in the reflective order of polarity. Though we see hot and cold, it doesn't actually exist. It's the presence of energy or not presence of energy that produce an environment. And the non-production of energy produced an environment, and the presence of energy produced another environment. And so both of these are either the presence or not presence of energy. It's all the same thing. Yod He Vav He Echad. Okay, Shalom, Selah.